So students of class 8, this is your first lesson of the PA2 syllabus, World War Diaries. So World War Diaries, where the World War events were recorded, and these diaries were maintained by civilians. The world has witnessed two major world conflicts. That means war, we can say, World War One and World War Two. Soldiers of all participating countries gave up their lives after enduring unimaginable hardships and horrors on the field of battle. So this you can understand that the soldiers lost their lives and they suffered a lot in the battlefield. What was it like for those who didn't actually participate in the fighting, but were still affected by this wars in so many different ways? So there can be the scarcity of food, there can be the loss of lives, then there can be the mutilations, injuries. So in different ways the civilians suffered. The following three excerpts, taken from personal diaries written during the period of the wars, provide us an unusual perspective of World War I and World War II from the point of view of non-combatants who were not fighting. They were not soldiers who were fighting with enemy soldiers, and they were actually civilians and ordinary civilians. Now, did you know in this part you can learn something? In 1914, the situation in Europe was tense. It was very much tense, the situation. Secret alliances. What caused this disturbance? You can understand. Secret alliances between different countries, internal politics. This was happening, and empire building. It's a part of that imperialism, which was run by the European powers. Empire building had, and what these had built up, they had built up distrust and dislike between many of the European powers because they were fighting with each other, uh, because they wanted to extend their power to some other countries where everyone was trying to have the upper hand. So this is why there was distrust and dislike. On 28 June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, this was the reason for which that World War I had taken place. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, was assassinated in Sarajevo, Serbia. So here in Serbia, in this place, this Archduke Franz Ferdinand, he was going to be the king after that king who was ruling. So he was killed, assassinated there. Then Austria and Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28. Then Russia was an ally of Serbia. Immediately began to prepare for war. They prepared themselves for war. In response, Germany, Austria-Hungary's close ally, they were together. So declared war on Russia on August 1st. Now they first declared war on Russia. Then a few days later, Germany declared war on France and invaded Belgium. Why? Because France was also an ally of that Russia. So they attacked Belgium. Germany attacked Belgium, and when they attacked Belgium and France was an ally of that Britain, England. Then the Britain declared war on Germany, and the World War I had begun. This is actually what that led to the World War I. So this much is in the first slide. So we are moving into the next slide. Fred and Evelyn Albright were on their honeymoon in London in June 1914, and their situation was very much tense, as you have already known. Fred maintained a diary as a hobby. It was as a hobby he kept a diary, and when World War I broke out, he kept a careful record of the historic event. This is what he did. He kept a careful record of the historic event. The following excerpt records the feelings and mood of the British population at the outbreak of the war. So if I ask you what Thus, that diary of Fred Albright reveal that you will have to say that mood and feelings of the British population. Then what other things you can know from his diary, we will come to know. Evelyn and I had often talked of keeping a diary before the war began and have even made some half resolutions. And now, however, events in European politics have reached such a crisis that I feel sure in after years I will reproach myself if a brief record of the daily events is not kept. So this is what he feels, though he uh, had the thought of writing in the diary that half resolution he had taken, but now he is sure to keep a record of the events that was going to take place. Now, today, the ominous rumble of warfare in the far Balkan states has created a tense feeling of dread. So everyone was afraid. It was created by the rumble, the sound of warfare in the far Balkan states. The whole city is alive. At that part of the night, the whole city, that London, was alive. Then sad, strained faces pass you in the streets. So in the streets, you will meet people whose faces is strained. So in the hotel corridors also you can see those people, in the restaurants also. So here also this much in this one slide. Let us move on to the next one, the final one. August 2nd, 1914. It was late last night when we went to bed, and even then we didn't soon go to sleep. They went to bed late but could not sleep. Evelyn was very frightened and nervous, and once clung to me. She actually held him and was telling terrified way, saying, "I know something is going to happen." This was after we heard the beat of drums and knew troops were marching along the Strand. Strand is the road, street, and when they heard the beating of the drum and the soldiers marching in the street, after that she told like this. So this morning everyone was fearfully and anxiously expecting news. We had it in big type: Germany declared war on Russia. Everyone felt now that the spark had been touched off. A big, appalling European war is now inevitable. Now, after they came to know about that declaration of war by Germany on Russia, they were sure that the European war was inevitable. Everyone is asking, what will Britain do? A small minority of the people still knows that she stayed aside and take no part in the conflict, that it is no quarrel of hers and she is not bound in any way. But the great body of opinion is that she is morally bound to assist France, and now that Russia is at war, it seems as if France will necessarily be drawn in. In fact, today's news shows that France is mobilizing and that German troops are massing on the France frontier. Now, everything was happening like that, that France was being dragged into that war, and England was bound to assist France, and mobilizing of the soldiers was being done by France, and in the France borders there was a huge gathering of German soldiers. So this much in this presentation. Come up with new things. Till that time, goodbye. Thank you.